Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. And someday I'll go off on a tangent about that because ADHD is characterized by a lot of behavior problems that look like you're just a bad kid or the product of bad parenting. And that's not the case at all. But that's what some of your relatives will tell you, especially over this holiday season. But I want to talk about something different today. Okay, I'll tell you the usual. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I have been in private practice for about 40 years now. And most of that time, I have been working with at least some ADHD. In the last 20 years, it's been a lot of ADHD. Diagnosis, treatment, parent instruction, all that kind of stuff. And I'm also, by the way, the parent of an ADHD child. And I also have apparently married into a whole tribe of people with a lot of ADHD. So I have relatives. I'll tell you, Thanksgiving back in the day when my in-laws were alive, got a little wild on occasion. So I know a lot about ADHD. I've lived it. I've treated it. I've studied it like crazy because back in the day when my son was showing some signs of something, we weren't sure what it was. ADHD didn't even exist as a diagnosis. So you can imagine or maybe you can't, but the research base on that was horrible, almost totally lacking. But then in 1980, ADHD, I'm sorry, ADD was diagnosed as a condition, and then in 1987, ADHD was diagnosed. Okay, but I want to talk about dopamine, okay, for those of you who aren't neuropsychologists or neurologists. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It is what we think is the main problem in ADHD is that they metabolize it faster than the normal brain. So they're always at a discrepancy. Okay, and dopamine is involved in pleasure, reward, motivation, memory, and attention. And low levels of, the main way that stimulant medication works with ADHD kids or adults for that matter is because it increases the dopamine levels. And frankly, most physicians who work with ADHD will tell you that that's still the best way to go. It's the most efficient, that is, it works the fastest once you get it, the right dosage kind of worked out. All you have to do is remember to take your medication on time, and you're in pretty good shape usually for most people. However, there are always going to be people who don't want to take it or say they can't take it for a variety of reasons that are kind of odd when you think about it. ADHD causes more damage to people's lives than almost any psychiatric diagnosis. And it does it in sneaky, quiet ways. You're not hearing voices or anything. You're just, that's the problem. You can't hear the voices because you're not paying attention. Those kinds of things, mean that academic performance is not what it could be, not what the capacity of the individual is, because he or she can't bring the intellect to bear on the task at hand. And so that's why you get all these really bright people who don't have much academic performance, who, maybe made it through high school on the 5-year plan. Some of them managed to make it through college, but it was usually a struggle. 5 years, 6 years, to get what was usually a 4-year degree. And so it has a significant impact on people. But if the medication isn't working and it isn't, well, you feel like you can't take it, let's just say that. There are some things you can do, okay? And I want to emphasize that these are not as strong as the medication, but some people, including some well-known writers in the area of ADHD, maintain that they use some of these strategies rather than use medication. Okay, the first one is exercise. Okay, and the estimates on how long that holds. I mean, exercise causes your dopamine levels to go up. I've heard estimates all the way from 8 hours to 2 hours. So it's a little bit unclear how long your dopamine levels will stay high. But just the fact that you did about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes of exercise, and it can be either aerobic or resistance training. But you want to get your heart and lungs going, and that usually, well, a lot of people claim that that's all they do is they run a lot usually, and it helps them regulate everything so they don't have to depend on medication. And I say I've been talking running, but almost anything you do, bike riding, brisk walking, rowing, does the same thing. So it's a natural thing that we should all be doing it anyway, and it increases your dopamine levels. And next, there are some diet things. Now, diet, I am of the generation that has been fed more baloney about diet than any generation in history. We have been, we've been duped into believing cholesterol is the big enemy in heart disease and other things. But here's what we know. If you eat high protein foods, that will cause your dopamine level to go up. You want to limit saturated fat. You want to eat foods that are rich in magnesium and tyrosine. And that's like almonds, avocados, bananas, beans, chicken, green leafy vegetables, green tea, lima beans, oatmeal, oranges, pears, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, tomatoes, turmeric, watermelon, and wheat germ. And you also want to consider vitamin supplements for iron, B6, and niacin. The next area is gut health. You want, the whole leaky gut thing that is very popular right now, but basically consider taking probiotics, which should increase your dopamine levels as well. Meditation is one of those things that is helpful for increasing your dopamine. You got to make sure you get enough sleep. And a lot of times ADHDers, they're real erratic when it comes to their sleep. I mean, your body basically, left to its own devices, will establish a schedule. You'll go to sleep at about the same time. You'll get up in the morning at about the same time. And this has happened, they put people in caves, where there's no light, so they can't tell what the day and what the night is, but they will still establish a routine. ADHDers kind of fight that. And, they'll want to stay up all night and then sleep all morning, a couple of days, and then they'll just think they can crash. For 12, 15 hours. But you want it steady. You want it on a regular pattern. You about 8 hours of sleep a night. These people who say, "Oh, I only need 4," baloney. Okay, you may be able to survive with only 4 hours of sleep, but you aren't at your optimal best. The other thing is you need to get outdoors and get exposed to sunlight. Also, just the natural, being out, say, in the woods, where you get some sun, you get some fresh air. You're not inside in a stuffy building that's, you're breathing the same recycled air as everybody else. But anyway, so that's important. And just generally, it's pleasurable activities increase dopamine. They always talk about, dog companion or animal companions and that sort of thing. And that works, if you're petting a dog that you like being around and that sort of stuff, that will increase your dopamine levels. And other things, like listening to music that you enjoy, probably not crash metal, that sort of stuff, but reasonably pleasant sounding music will normally help you increase your dopamine levels. And a lot of times, people have a hobby that they really get into and just love the heck out of. I know a lot of people who just read, but they read fiction that they love, and it's usually not the high level stuff, although for some people it is. But reading like science fiction or romance novels or that sort of stuff that they just enjoy, do it for the pure pleasure of it. That also will increase your dopamine levels. And one last thing, caffeine, coffee particularly, will also increase your dopamine levels, but it does it in a slightly reverse method. It doesn't increase the the building of dopamine, the secretion of dopamine. It slows down the metabolism, which has the net effect of increasing dopamine levels. Okay. I remember I was talking to some woman about her family, whether or not they had ADHD or that sort of thing. I think she had a child that had been diagnosed with ADHD, probably by me, if she was talking to me. And there's you keep saying it's a genetically transmitted, but I don't have any history of that. I said, okay. Anybody in your family drink a lot of coffee? And she got this funny look on her face, like I'd smacked her on the forehead or something. I said, my mother, she used to drink 8 or 10 cups of coffee a day. There we go. Okay. Those of us who love our coffee, we know it helps us concentrate, even though many of us have not been diagnosed with ADHD. Maybe yet, but who knows? Okay, so those are like 8 different things that you can do and even if you're on medication, it can be helpful in helping the medication work better. So that's me for this week. I am Dr. Terry James Gingras. My website is terrygingrasphd.com. You can sign up for different things that we're offering, and we're constantly offering new stuff. Right now, I'm in the midst of trying to get a few more coaching customers. I have been doing coaching for a little over a decade, I guess. Maybe longer than that, now that I think about it, but that's neither here nor there. I'm certified, and I do a lot of work with executives and entrepreneurs with ADHD. And if you'd like to do an interview and just see, if we're a good match, you can get to me on my on that website, and we will, I've got a thing that where it's an automatic scheduler, so you just put in some time, a time or two where we can do just the the free first session, and like I said, just see if we match very well. So think about that if you're interested, and you don't have to be an executive or an entrepreneur, but those are the people I sort of semi-specialize in, shall we say. And I have a book that's called Strategic Parenting, and that's on Amazon. And actually, it's doing pretty well. I haven't marketed it at all, but we're getting a lot of these little notifications from Amazon. Oh, we got some money for you. Okay, thank you very much. But I'm doing that, and I'm also will be starting some support groups or membership groups pretty soon for ADHD parents, probably mostly, and we'll let you know when we do a little more of that. Okay, so and I have a podcast, which is the same title as this one, Dr. G's ADHD Chat. And a lot of it is stuff that I've covered here, but a lot of it is just different stuff that I do for a slightly different audience. But, if you're on any of the big podcast delivering people, give us a listen. Okay, we will catch you next week.